Well, I'll tell you guys a rule I have. My wife and I do this is there's absolutely no reason for my phone to ever be face down unless I'm hiding something. That's it. There's no reason. Now, sometimes my wife and I, like if we're having a real good conversation or something, and the phone, phones are a fucking nuisance, right? And I have all my notifications turned off, which has been a big change in my life. But you make that agreement.
And it wasn't until
Yeah.
3 years later when I left the marriage, I thought, I think I'll go off antidepressants now. I don't think I need them anymore.
You didn't
I,
need them. Yeah,
I,
I did antidepressants. I gained a shit ton of weight. I got like 220 pounds and a 36-inch waist, and I was miserable. I was really like I would say my entire lack of self was destroyed. Like I find betrayal kills your self-worth, your self-esteem, and your self-love. And like you were alluding to, it's like I shared, right? I didn't tell my brother or my best friend for all those years. Men isolate, and that's what I love about the groups I do is these guys realize they're not alone. But I think isolating is the most dangerous thing we can do as men, not only in betrayal but just in life in general, right? um because yeah, and because I think when you do that too, that ego wound just gets bigger and bigger, and lets you know how crappy you are even though you aren't, just lies to you. Kind of, it's like I like to call it, it's kind of like that, it's an inner predator that kind of feeds on it, and he keeps getting bigger and bigger, and he reinforces all those negative messages. And if you don't have a brotherhood, if you don't have a therapist or a counselor or a group that can just see you and support you, I think this is a hard thing to step out of. It
yeah,
lingers.
I think these guys have heard enough from me. No matter what, we do better when we have good men in our life. We're we're
100,
we're meant to be in
100%.
tribe. We're meant to have community. Don't do it alone. But so many of us, oh, I'll deal with it myself. No matter what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Could be addiction, could be overweight, could be depression, could be betrayal, could be work issues, money issues, family issues. We go it alone, and we don't have to. We get through this stuff so much better when we go and let other people be there for us. Let them give a shit
Mhm.
about us. Nothing
Yeah.
like that. So yeah,
Mhm.
this seems like this is a prime example of
It
where
is.
go find a group. Go again. Yeah, I got to
Seek
tell you a
help.
story. I I do 4 or 5 workshops here in my office every year. We get 8 guys in here. About a year ago, I think the workshop's in April or May. And a guy comes, and Friday night, we always introduce ourselves and talk about why we're there. And that helps me, kind of see what these guys need for the weekend. And it's really unstructured. And a guy came, and I'm trying to remember the exact, if he did this night or Saturday morning, said he came because he found out in November that his wife was cheating on him. Irrefutable evidence that
Hmm.
and he did not bring it up to her until the night before he came to the workshop, and he'd been up with her fighting till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning
Interesting.
before he got on an airplane to fly here. This guy waited, I don't know, I'm not going to do the math of November to April or May, knowing the whole time his wife was cheating on him.
Held on to it.
So why do guys do that? Because that's not the first time I've heard that of guys. They suspect it. They do their snooping. They get on her phone. They find out. They follow her. They whatever. They know beyond a shadow of a doubt she's cheating, and they don't confront her. Why
Yeah,
do
they
we
hold
guys
on
do
to it.
that?
You know, First I want to say, like, that story in therapy, we call it a doorknobber, because like the client, like on the way out to grab the doorknob, they'll tell you something that's
Yeah.
really
Oh,
like,
by the
right?
way.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, by the way, I killed 5 people. I gotta go. Bye, and they
Yeah.
leave,
Yeah.
right? And they're
Yeah.
like,
Time's
"What?
up.
I can't do anything with that, right?" I think it's the avoidant part. It's the fear. It's the fear of being judged. It's the fear. Look, when you tell your partner you know what they did, like life as you know it is over. But as long as you don't tell them, there's like a false sense of hope, or you can like some of the guys I work with, they like I did like I knew, and she came clean to me, and I stayed in it for years for some other various reasons. we just pretend. It's so easy to pretend on the outside. On the inside, I was dying slowly. I'm sure I lost a couple years and some of this gray is from that, right? But I think men in general, I'm going to stereotype. I think men that haven't done their own work, haven't done growth work, are scared of it, and I think they know if I do this, I'm going to have to look at like that's the other part is look, you didn't cause your partner to cheat, but you had a part in it, right? You have some accountability, but you don't have, I would say, responsibility, if that makes sense.
Well, no, actually, tell us what you mean by that. What's the difference between
Ah, shit.
accountability?
I don't.
Come on, you're going to tee it up. I'm
I
not going to
mean,
let.
okay, okay, I can do this. I can do this. So look, I think the accountability part is how did you show up as a man, as a husband? Like, were you present? Were you aware? Were you emotionally available? I'm accountable in the relationship, but I don't have responsibility for her actions,
Right, right.
right? If anything, because of my shortcomings, let's say, in the relationship, the only thing that gave my partner permission to do was to tell me, I'm not happy, or I need this, or we need to go to therapy, or you're not right. I use the metaphor sometimes. It's like, and for those guys out there who were cheated on, I know every one of you can probably remember the exact date and time, and if you don't remember that, you definitely remember exactly where you were sitting and what it looked like. And I remember exactly where I was. And it was kind of like I felt like I put the bullets on the table, but she picked them up, put them in the gun, and pulled the trigger. And that's her responsibility. I'm accountable for the bullets. And that's kind of how I see it, and actually have a chapter on the in the book, which is kind of I think it's chapter 14, which is kind of about like what's your part, or actually, I think the title of the chapter, if I remember correctly, is "Missed Opportunities." Right, and I think one of my best friends, he had two affairs, and he's remarried, and his wife had an affair, not with each other, and they kind of read my manuscript, and the first thing they said, they go, "Where's the part about the other person's part?" And that made me so angry. I was like, I didn't have a part, right? But
Yeah.
I saw it. I was like, shit. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Well,
I
Scott,
miss some things.
we can do better. We can do better.
Exactly. Yeah. So
And
I
we're
had to
not.
have that in there.
Yeah. All right. So I got some just personal observation kind of questions. Like somebody just
All
posted
right.
they've been married twice and both ex cheated, which brings me to another question. First, about my professional experience. I'm going to make a generalization, which I do from time to time, and
Sure.
that is in working with men. If I'm working with a guy, and usually this comes up in groups and stuff like that, where a guy said basically every woman he's been with has cheated on him. And I've worked with guys that, that is their biggest fear of even getting in a relationship, that they're going to
Yeah.
get cheated on. Here's my experience, and I'm wondering if you've seen anything like this. The more somebody's history is they've been cheated on, and the more they're afraid of getting cheated on, to me, it almost guarantees they will get cheated on. Now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been saying this actually for years, 'cause I've seen it for years. It's almost like how does this happen so consistently? So
I see it too.
do these guys attract women that can't be faithful to reinforce their world, their occurring world?
Yeah.
And or because they're so afraid of being cheated on, do they actually accuse their partner frequently that they're going to cheat? And I've had partners that accuse me constantly. I know you're going to cheat on me. I know you're going to cheat on me. I know you're going to cheat on me. And or are they so like guarded and not letting their partner in because they're so afraid of getting cheated on, that
Yeah.
their partner sooner or later somebody treats them nice and they go,
Well, it's
why
true. I
not?
guess
Why
yeah.
not? So have you seen that where the more
Yeah.
the more a guy is afraid of getting cheated on, the way is he's almost like putting out a contract. I will get cheated on. It will happen.
Yeah, I have seen that. One of my favorite sayings is what you focus on expands, you know? So I think there's that. Here's the other thing. Look, if when you get cheated on anything or addiction or whatever it is, if you don't do your work, right, then you're not changing. And if you're not changing, light attracts light and all that, right? You're going to attract where you're at. So I think if you have low self-esteem, if you're not doing your work, if you don't feel you're worthy, I think you're going to attract something like that. I see that so much. I see guys going like when they have another partner and then they come back, they're like, oh gosh, she was like my last one. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised
Well, we,
because
we, we do kind of do
you're
that, whether it's
yeah, but
around
if you
infidelity. Yeah.
but if you don't do your work, right? If you don't heal from this, if you don't understand your worth, right, then your bar is gonna be low. I
Well,
think. Like,
another way I put it is that nobody can love us more than we love ourselves, and we can't love anybody else more than we love ourselves. Just mathematically, it's not possible.
right,
And I think walking around thinking I'm going to get cheated on, and we might even create a meme with it and run red pill with it and say all women are hypergamous, they're all looking to trade up to the next. And I think a lot of times that's just guys unwilling to deal with the fact that I'm not an interesting person, or my insecurities drove my partner away, or my walls didn't let them get close to me.
sure.
And is that your fault that they cheated? No. But did you create the emotional space that made that real likely? Yeah, maybe we got to own
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have some guys I work with that have been cheated on multiple times, and this sounds terrible, but I'll tell them, like, what's the common denominator? It's you. So how are you showing up, and what are
They're
you
probably going to say, "Oh, it's women." That's the common
No,
denominator.
no, it's
Yeah,
them, right? And
yeah,
it's how are you showing up in this relationship? And I'll tell you another thing on this topic. I get Reddit and all that crap. I go on there, I see all these things, and I have to tell you, I think another thing that's happening in the man sphere of men being cheated on is another reason why men don't do their work is they isolate, or then they go on Reddit and places like this where where it's women bashing.
yeah.
And
We
they get
blame it all
right.
on women, right?
Yeah. And guess what, guys? You do that, you're not gonna nothing's gonna change for you. And actually it's and look, like, and I read all these terrible things about women. Well, last time I checked, men do some pretty shitty things too. So again, it goes back to my thing. What you focus on expands. What are you drinking? What are you feeding yourself around this to heal and grow? And if you're just not doing the work, or you're going on Reddit to bash women, well, you're going to end up in the same place over and over again, right? That's just insanity. So,
Yeah,
so do the work, own your part. And like I said, like for me, and I think for you too, Robert, right? Like as painful as this was, it was a gift. I mean, I'll tell you one thing, in my marriage now, I know my worth. I know what I will put up with. And actually, I love my wife. She tells me she loves me, but another thing she'll do is she'll tell me she adores me. I've never had anyone say that to me in my life. And I remember the first time she said it, I like had a visceral response. Like I was kind of taken aback. And wow, even now, right? It was so powerful. And that was probably the safest I'd ever felt in my life in a relationship. Like I felt truly seen and to be adored. And she still tells me, she doesn't tell me all the time because I think that would take from it. But I'm worth that.
yeah.
And I did the work, damn it. So, and if they can't, my partner can't see it, then I don't need to be here.
Yeah, I love that the line right there. That I don't try to get unavailable women to be available, unaroused women aroused, unapproving women
No,
approving, unaffectionate women affectionate. That was kind of the meme in the last workshop I led here 2 weeks ago. Let's quit trying to get women, the woman you're with, to be something that she's not, right? You want a
yeah,
woman that adores you. Don't settle for anything less than a woman who adores you, right? You want a
right,
woman who will be faithful and vulnerable with you and tell you when she's pissed off at you in an open-hearted love. Don't settle for a woman that is any less than that. So again, a lot of that's another way we have to take accountability. What are we choosing and
totally.
what are we choosing to stay with? All right, I got a few more questions, and I'm going to turn it over to the guys. And
All right.
some of these are kind of maybe more along, you know, we'll just call it internet or social media advice on cheating.
Okay.
And not that I actually got this off social media, it's just stuff I've heard. So, one I've heard, because I've heard this because You told me that your wife is of Latina heritage, right? Her
Yes.
parents are Mexican. My wife is definitely Latina heritage. She grew up in Guadalajara, Mexico. Typical, stereotypical jealous Latina. We're going to celebrate our ninth wedding anniversary this Sunday, right? And the fact that we've made it 9 years, and at times she's accused me twice a day of infidelity, twice a day of looking
Huh.
at some woman's butt, twice a day of having a girlfriend. So you smiled when you were on your phone. Who'd you send those hearts to? Henrik and Sid. Look here, I send Henrik and Sid hearts. I send you hearts, don't I, Henrik? Yeah, thumbs up. So and I've not cheated on my wife, and I've not done anything she accused me of. So here's an internet meme. If a person regularly accuses you of cheating, they must be cheating. True or false?
Nah,
I don't,
I
I
don't
don't,
think
I don't,
so.
I don't make the connection either. I mean, it could
I don't think
be,
so.
but I think that's too easy of an answer.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
I
All
don't
right.
see that.
Okay. All right. Another internet advice or internet meme. Once a cheater, always a cheater.
Always a cheater. Yeah, I've heard that one a lot too.
What do you think?
I pause because I want to say it's not true. And the things I see and I work with, I think if you don't, again, if you are a cheater and you don't do your work to heal and to figure out what that is, I think it's like an addiction, right? If you don't get into recovery, if you don't own your shit, if you're not, I think it's an easier door to open because you've already opened it before.
I agree with that. If you've been there, you know the way there. It's
Yeah,
it's easier
yeah,
to get
yeah.
there.
Yeah. If you're not doing I mean, I have like my friend I was referring to. I don't think he will ever cheat again. I see him do his work. So
Yeah, there's you
also,
can't we can't.
I think his wife will kill him too, and he knows it. So
Yeah,
that helps, right?
I pretty much know that's true with my wife as well.
I mean, my
Yeah,
wife's pretty much not. I don't have any history of that, but she's told me like I will cut you if you ever. And I'm like, baby, you're good.
yeah.
Like,
Take her to the word. Okay, so
totally.
if a man finds out his partner's been cheating, should he always end the relationship with that?
Wow,
Would
those are some always like that's such a
always
big.
should you
Um,
give a cheating partner a second chance?
well, there has to be an asterisk to that question because there's too many variables. I will say this: if you don't feel safe, and when I say that to men, men are like, "I'm a man, I'm safe," and I say, "BS." The men, we plenty of times we don't feel safe, and we just don't share it or show it. If you don't feel safe, if your partner's not doing the work, right? I believe that the betrayer has a responsibility if they want to stay in the marriage and reconcile. They have a responsibility to help you heal. Now, that doesn't mean they're doing your work. You still have to heal, but they have to um, follow the boundaries. Like you guys have to be going to couples therapy. There has to be check-ins. There has to be access to passwords and rules around phone and if you not cutting off ties with the affair partner, right? Or if you work at that job, I have clients, their wives have had to quit their jobs because they want to stay in the marriage and the affair partner's there. So um if your partner's doing the work and if they are showing up and if they are, let's just say, falling on the sword, and if you love them and it's what you want, I think you stay. Now, for me, you know, I wanted to stay. I wanted us to figure it out. And she just didn't want to do the work. And then she told me, well, I love you and I love him. I'm polyamorous, I think. And I was like, well, that's great for some people. That doesn't work for me. Um, and so she just never really did the work and she refused to quit her job. It was at her job. Um, So, sometimes our hands are tied on that, but I didn't give you a definite yes or no on that
That's all right.
question,
That's all right. Well, I wasn't
because it
really
doesn't
looking for
have
one.
one.
It was
All
a
right, good,
discussion starter. All right.
good.
So, all right. Give me three behavioral or verbal clues to pay attention to that your partner might be cheating on you.
Hmm. That's such a broad question. I'll say that I'm going to answer this question, but I might not answer it with this. The first thing I want to say is I think most guys out there, I know, like I knew, like I think your gut tells you. And what I want to tell you guys is don't ignore your gut, right? But I think the big things, the telltale signs, if you will, are if my partner is being very wishy-washy about where they're at,
Yeah.
right? If
Unaccountable time.
unaccountable time, right? Um, maybe suddenly I notice them secretly on their phone a lot or in another room, and when I come in, their phone goes down.
I get
I'll tell
accused
you,
of that almost daily.
well, I'll tell you guys a rule I have. My wife and I do this is there's absolutely no reason for my phone to ever be face down unless I'm hiding something. That's it. There's no reason. Now, sometimes my wife and I, like if we're having a real good conversation or something, and the phone, phones are fucking nuisance, right? And I have all my notifications turned off, which has been a big change in my life. But you make that agreement. Hey, this is about, and we flip it over, right? But
Yeah.
but I think anytime you notice secrecy, unaccountable time, I've had guys say, yeah, like suddenly like her location was turned off, you know, or the other one, well, I think one of the biggest signs, and I noticed this and I wanted to ignore it, was she started talking so much about the other guy.
That
That
guys do
is,
that too. All of a
yeah,
sudden that
yeah,
person's name comes up all the time.
you refer to them a lot, or oh well, they said, or oh he, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right. One last question. Then I'm gonna turn it over to the guys.
sure, sure.
Okay. So is there a difference between digital cheating, emotional affairs, actual physical affairs? I know this seems to, again,
This is so
I'll be
easy.
slightly snarky that, I'd never hear a guy claim, oh dear, I just had an emotional affair with my secretary. But you hear women make that all the time. Oh, no,
Yeah,
I didn't cheat. It was just an emotional affair. I personally think there's no fucking difference. If you were taking what should stay in the container of our relationship and putting it somewhere else, that's infidelity. That's me.
that is.
I even think men secretly looking at porn is infidelity as well. So
Okay.
I'm gonna swing both ways
S-
on it.
So, Robert, were you asking me the question or yourself? You
Yeah.
answered it.
Yeah. So
No, listen. No,
emotional, digital, and
I'm going to
sexual
answer it.
affair. Okay.
Betrayal. I don't think any of that matters. If it involves secrecy, no, I can say this is if you're doing it and you're thinking to yourself, I don't want my partner to know, like, why
Shouldn't be
is
doing
that?
it. Shouldn't be
Right.
doing it.
And also, this could come up we can debate this a little bit, but I kind of feel like in some ways an emotional affair is almost more damaging than a physical affair,
I'll plus one that. Yeah. And
you
what's the
know? And
difference? What's penis in a vagina? I can actually live with penis in a vagina. Okay, his penis was in your vagina, but you
I
what?
mean,
You were
I
sharing
mean,
this with him. You
I
were
mean, yeah,
taking these issues. Yeah,
most all of us, have had multiple partners. There's been various penises and vaginas and penises and all that. But the emotional part is there's a depth to that. There's a vulnerability. There's a connection. There's even like if they're sharing information about our relationship, like
that
that's like, yeah, yeah. But I'll say this, as much as I tell you, to me, that's how I feel. So many of the men I work with, they struggle over like she had another guy's penis in her. I can never, blah, blah, right? That's my right. And then they want to reconquer it. It's like their property. Well, if she's not your property, and no offense, most women have been with other men, like unless they married as a virgin. It's like it's the emotional part, the depth that happens with that, and that you lose that, and you lose that trust. You lose trust in both, right? I'm not minimizing one for the other. Let me just say that. So
yeah.